Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nihilist Anarchy series. I am Adam, this is Ian, and we are going to read some comments on a latest video that we posted up on TikTok, which was about the unplugged phone and the kill switch. Apparently it went off the charts, and everyone's been commenting like crazy on this thing, wondering like, I guess why I want a kill switch or what do I care. So anyway, I'm going to have Ian just kind of pick up some comments and we'll go to town.
Awesome. Yeah, so this video is now out of nowhere at basically 500,000 views. Probably exceeded 500,000 views by the time that we put this up, which is just insane. And yeah, it got 240 comments here. Some of these comments have thousands of likes, so we'll go through some of them. We'll try not to be redundant, as we were saying in preparation for this video, but here's just some of them. So why does he need a Faraday cage and a kill switch?
And I have both. So I wouldn't need both, first off, at the same time, because the kill switch would replace the Faraday cage. So I have multiple Faraday cages, and I use them for a multitude of reasons. One of the perfect examples, like we have DEF CON coming up. I'll be in Vegas. I don't know if I'm going to DEF CON, the actual event, or not yet. Time will tell, but I will be out there. And while I'm out there is no way in hell I'm going to have my phone on, and nor should anybody else, honestly. Like most people I know don't even bring the phone, or they bring a burner phone or whatever, because that phone is going to be compromised, that's most likely, especially if you're walking around DEF CON, because everyone there, I'm talking about like 100,000 people actively trying to hack things 24/7. So when you're in high threat situations like that, you don't want to have your phone on. And when you just turn an iPhone off, it's not actually off. There's still ways to activate the phone, to activate the microphone, to activate the camera remotely through vulnerabilities that have been found in iOS and Android. I shouldn't just say Apple. So therefore, you need to, if you want your phone to be off to ensure no one's trying to hack your phone and hack your stuff, then you need to make sure that there's no way to get into that. So right now I use a Faraday cage because that kills all the signal. What's nice, what I loved about the unplugged phone was that kill switch, because then I don't have to carry around a Faraday cage. I don't have to carry around this thing with me all the time. I can just flip the little switch and I don't have to worry about it. Now it's off. Now, the bigger question probably is, what do you need that for? Like, who's hacking your stuff? Well, you have to remember, it's like, I'm not worried about people finding, like pictures of my kids and my dog on my phone, or I'm not worried about, like, oh, they might get a password for something of, I don't know, some stupid game that I have on my phone. But what I am afraid of is I have a lot of client, extremely confidential information on my phone. So just like most of us that work in this industry, we work with our phones almost probably more than we do our computers nowadays, right? And on there, so I have Teams access, Slack access, a bunch of file system accesses, emails, obviously, and a lot of these are, they could be clients that are federal government clients, agency stuff, three-letter agency stuff. We have even just regular clients, like lots of financial clients, healthcare clients, healthcare information that comes to me that's very private, very confidential, and can never be leaked. So it's my job to ensure that it never gets leaked, and I can never be the source of a breach. So if some major hack happened and it was my fault because someone hacked my phone, I'm liable and responsible, and I can never have that happen. So that's why I wanted to put this record out here, because one of the best lyrics that I've lived by since this album came out, which I think was like early mid 90s. When was this? Hold on. Probably. Yeah, 97.
Oh wow.
So there's a great lyric on here. If ignorance is bliss, wipe the smile off my face. That's the world I live in. Because I'm so aware and hyper aware of what's possible and how easy it is to do, I'm so paranoid that I'm more than the tinfoil hat guy, because it's not like, oh, who's going to want to do that? It's like, I know people are doing that. I know people have tried to hack my phone. I've been witness to it. I've seen me try to be taken out physically because of things. So it's like, it's not like I'm just some dude working at a Subway, and I just sit there and on TikTok all day. It's like I have extremely confidential, important information that cannot get out on my phone.
Yeah. You saw there's a multitude of these people saying it in different ways, but just very suspicious posts from this guy. And you saw there's many people saying stuff like that.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, you're going to see that a lot from people that don't work in the security industry, right? So people that do not have sensitive information on their phone or on their devices, on their computers. Like my mom does not care. She's like, I don't care whoever reads my phone. What do I care? Well, no one's going to be targeting my mom to get their phone.
But
But
as
at the
you've
same
said
time,
before, that's the wrong attitude to have. In
right?
general.
Because and it's like even for my mom, and she's not that way now, but like, people are like, oh, if they want to see what's on my phone, they can see what's on my phone. Okay, do you have a banking app on your phone? Do you have one on your phone?
Sure.
Okay, so do you log into your bank app on your phone?
Of course, yeah.
Most likely, you probably have passwords saved galore. So if someone can get access to your phone, they can get access to your bank account and take all your money.
Or how about this stock trading apps? It's all I have to do
Crypto
is put
apps,
in
all
my
your crypto's
PIN.
gone.
Yeah.
If you are so, I'm trying to put this in the nice way as possible. If you're dumb enough to store your private key for your crypto wallet in like notes or something on your phone, then you deserve to have all your crypto liquidated from you because it's that easy to take. And if you store anything sensitive in notes, that's the first thing you're going to go after. As soon as someone gets access to your phone, if you're on an iPhone, the first thing you're going to do is dump your notes because it's the easiest thing to grab. And a lot of people store very personal, sensitive information in the Notes app thinking it's safe. It's not. So, yeah, so like a lot of people are just, like I said, they're ignorant. They just don't understand. But what I would say is, okay, would you take your phone, unlock it, hand it to a complete stranger, walk away for an hour, come back and say thanks and take your phone back? Would you feel comfortable with that?
No, of course not.
Well, then you don't feel comfortable with anyone getting access to your phone either.
Sure.
So if you go into high threat situations where, like, if you're going into like DEF CON out in Vegas, you have 100,000 people hacking stuff, going to hacking conventions out in Europe, like I like to do, or if you're going into certain agencies, you're going to certain offices and government offices specifically, you can't have a phone on you in certain places. You cannot have a phone. So what's interesting about the kill switch on the up phone, the unplugged phone, is that may be an allowed exception. So with that, I may be able to bring my phone in, not turn it over to someone, just because it has that physical kill switch. Okay, what else you got?
All right. So this person, Caitlin, says, I bet his hard drives are in a safe.
I do have hard drives in safes. So you're right. Not all of them, but backups. I have some locked in safes for a couple reasons. One is for fire prevention. So if the house were to burn down, they're in a fire protected safe. So should the house burn down, my data is safe. Right now, this house burns down, all this hardware is gone. So yes, I do have then safe for that. Also, in case intruders come in, what are people going to go for? They're going to go for your computers, your laptops, your high expensive things that they can flip and steal real easily. I need my data. It's obviously super important to me. So I have them in safes for that reason. Also, I have them in safes as kind of like the go bag situation. So in case I need to bug out for whatever reason, I can just grab and go, and I have a copy of a duplicate of all my important information and data on a hard drive. So yes, I absolutely do keep hard drives in safes.
Some of these you kind of answered, like what kind of situations are you putting yourself in where this is useful?
Hold on one second. One thing I should probably follow up with that, because I know right then you're going to have everyone else similarly like, oh, what do you need a bug out bag for? You think the world's going to come after you? I'm going to give you a little breakdown on things that have happened to me already. California, I lived out in California, forest fires. We had a mandatory evacuation. We had to leave the house immediately. Thank God I had a bug out bag with all my stuff, and I was able to take it and go. Thankfully, nothing happened, nothing burned down, but we could have lost everything. Puerto Rico, I've been through 3 different hurricanes. One of them was Hurricane Maria, Category 5 hurricane, where it hit my house.
Yeah.
Like, where it hit Puerto Rico, that 240 mile an hour winds was my house. That's right where I lived at in Humacao. And that was another bug out. We had to get out, save everything. I don't have hours to prepare of finding my data, make sure I have everything. I could grab that thing and go and get to the center of the island and be more protected there. In New York, Hurricane Sandy, I was here for that one as well. 9/11 in New York. So I've been around so many crazy disasters where I had to leave immediately that, I don't know, you can call it PTSD or whatever, but it's happened to me more times than it's ever happened to most people. So therefore, I always prepare that I may have to leave immediately. Who knows why? Random things happen in this world, and it's been proof because I keep having to leave because of some crazy natural disaster most of the time.
This is, Pluto, I could never live in this much fear, bro. What's going on?
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And there was actually a moment, and I can tell you exactly when. I was 20 years old in college. It was Windows 2000, was all the rage at the time, and it was such a great operating system. And at that time, that is when I had the big mental shift of where I had to make a decision. And that's when I knew it's going to be so hard to stay private and anonymous. That would seem to be in 2000, that seemed to be the year, because, there was the .com boom, everything's blowing up. And so to stay anonymous at that time and be private was so hard, while also maintaining access to all the cool new stuff that came out, like to have the new cell phones and, like when iPhones came out, that was later. But So you were constantly making that decision of like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a computer and I'm gonna do all this cool stuff, but at the same time, I don't want to give away any privacy of any kind. Well, then it became you had to give away some, you had to give away more, and so at that moment, I had to make that decision. Like, okay, do I want to live with a tinfoil on my hat for the rest of my life and not use this technology because it's the only, like right now, if you want to be completely private and seriously like off grid, like you cannot have a cell phone. It's the best tracking device in the world. You know, you cannot have one at all. You can't use it. You can't have a single account online anywhere. You like, and I wouldn't want to live that way because like then you're just completely separate from society. Some people do. Hey, great for them. There's people that live out in little cabins in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, and just live out there on their own. Sure, I didn't want to be that guy. I couldn't go that far. So I found that happy balance for me, which is I'm still very privacy centric. I believe very firmly that people should have privacy, especially in this country, and therefore I'm going to maintain it as best as I can. But I still have an iPhone. You know what I mean? I still am going to use technology to a certain point, but I do have kind of that hard threshold limit where this is a line I'm not going to cross, and I know where that line is for me. And I teach my kids that. I teach my family that. Like perfect example, when going through customs, I took my kids across over to Europe, and we come back. I taught them when we go through customs. Here's what happens: we get up, and they're like, "Okay, we're going to take your picture for facial recognition." I was like, "No, thank you. We're opting out." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't. We're not having our faces, scanned for border patrol." And like, well, that's going to take longer. I'm like, whatever. So they take us into like a little room. They just ask you the same questions: "What were you doing? How long you gone? What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. You're on your way. But most people don't do that. And right now airlines, they'll have you do facial recognition to board your plane now. It's all optional right now. But everyone's like, "Oh, why not do it?" It's like, are you kidding me? Remember those scanning machines, those micromillimeter where you go in
Well,
and
it's
it's
still
like,
yeah. When you say
yeah,
remember,
they're
yeah,
still there. But there was a problem with them. So the first set of those things, when they went through, the first company that had those doing all the scanning, there was a big controversy because it's like basically there's someone in another room looking at the pictures because they're seeing you naked is what's happening. But they don't show that there because people would lose their mind. But that's what's happening. When you go into those micromillimeter scans, you're doing that, there's someone in another room staring at your naked body 100% of the time. And what happened was, well, first off, are you comfortable with that? I'm not. Again, privacy. I don't want my kids stared at. I don't want my wife stared at by some rando. And then the thing is, I don't want that information out there for other people. And I was like, oh, it's not. And they always tell you it's not. It's private. It's government controlled. That company wound up going bankrupt and said, screw it. And they sold all their assets. And one of the assets they had was the photos of all the people they scanned. And they sold that to various governments and companies around the world. So all your biometric data, like you better hope Clear stays in place, because if they don't, they have ocular scans and retinal scans of all these people. They could sell that off to people if they had to. And it's like in foreign governments get a hold of that stuff, and you're like, oh, well, what are they going to do with it? Well, they're going to fake your identity, right? Like, what do you need to log into stuff? Biometrics. Well, if they have your biometrics, they can log in as you. They could be you. They can impersonate you. So if that information gets out, someone could use that maliciously to impersonate you without you even knowing about it. So the more you can refrain from allowing people to have your personal information, your biometric information, and keeping it away from outside, the better. And I teach my kids that, and my whole family knows, like, you do not give out your biometric information unless it's absolutely mandatory required by law. Yeah. Otherwise, no.
We just liked this one because it was silly from Isaac. I'm eating a Taco Bell bean and cheese burrito as I watch this. So this you covered in the full episode, but someone left this comment because it's not as easy as, and I think you even covered in the short, but he says, I'd probably end up switching it on accident, and that'd be pretty hard to do.
I don't see that happening, honestly. I tried. Like, I sat there and physically tried to flip that thing with my hand without the case. With the case, you're never going to hit that thing. I can tell you right now, with the case on that thing, you're never going to accidentally turn that thing off. Without a case, a freak accident, like if you caught your keys or something just in the right spot, maybe it might. But even then, you got to be super specific about getting. It's almost it's a little bit easier, but it's very similar to like hitting that reset button with that little pin. Like, you really got to get in there and have a tool to be able to get to it. So honestly, to unplugged credit, like, it's very difficult to do that thing without it. But like I said as well, that's kind of a hindrance because when you want to turn it off, you can't.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the downside.
Which, to that point, someone here is asking, why not just keep the paper clip in the case?
Yeah, I probably would if that was a thing. Is I'd just throw it probably in the back of the phone or something, and I think that the answer to that really is that shouldn't be the answer. I mean, I think there should be some other way to make that better, to where I don't have to carry around another thing with me all the time.
This is not from TikTok, but I was reading all the comments to part 1 and part 2. People were, I was actually going to ask you this before we started recording, but it just crossed my mind. People were asking you all the problems that you had with the phone, with how it was working and stuff.
Yeah.
They were saying, could any of this been due to the fact that you turned off, you used the kill switch when it told you not to in part 1? Because people are saying it specifically said, do not touch the kill switch while phone is, in use, running things.
No, because
and you did that.
No, that wouldn't have had any effect on it, because it would have an effect on the phone, but that's not what caused all the things that pissed me off about the phone. What that would do is, that's the same thing as, like, if your computer is doing something, you don't just pull the plug on it. Your computer has to shut down gracefully because it has a bunch of stuff open in memory. All the stuff gets wiped out, files that are open. So things can get massively corrupted. Databases can get corrupted. So I could see now, let's say I brick the phone, I can see that happening. Or all of a sudden apps just not work, I have to delete them and reinstall them, or things just don't work. I can see that. But like the screen lag being horrible, the battery life just dying that one day for some reason, like all those things, that's definitely not from the kill switch.
Gotcha, yeah. So that was one that I just remember from there. Yeah, I mean, some people are on your side here, like this guy allegedly, Alex. Everyone commenting that this is too much, doesn't understand just how much tech companies and government collect from you, which is what you've said many times.
That's really what it comes down to, is if everyone really knew what was going on, they would have a very different opinion about who has access to their phone, where, when, and why.
Comments like these, dude's surrounded by a bunch of computers and whatnot and is worried about the phone, ?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These computers are locked down. No one's getting into these things. They're behind a bunch of different firewalls, internal intranets, VPNs, all that kind of fun stuff. The phone is directly out to the cell towers. So you're way more vulnerable with your phone. You have way more personal information on your phone. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. How was he taken down? From his phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like your phone is your most vulnerable point of attack.
There's a lot of people who liked your shirt. You were wearing a sleep shirt. We got people, sleep shirt is so based. This guy whose name is Just a Guy says, there is a 100% chance that phone was built by the FBI and is monitored.
I don't know about 100% chance. I highly doubt they're tied to the FBI, just because I don't believe Eric Prince and the U.S. government are best friends.
No.
So I don't think that's the case. But that kind of alludes to that point that I was making, where it's like, but how much do you trust them? You know what I mean? Because like, they're also, I mean, they're not a government, but they're equivalent of, like, he basically ran a shadow government for a long time. Maybe that's not the best term, but an own private army that was employed by governments to do things, nefarious things across the world. So how much do you trust them? I don't know. That's a personal decision everyone has to make for themselves.
Yeah, a lot of people just liked it. This person said instant follow. Yeah, like kind of connected with what you just said. There's comments like these. So this phone is 100% a government job. They have done it before, used things like this to get information on illegal activities.
I don't think so. Because the government doesn't need to make a phone that's not going to be as good as all the other phones out there.
Used by a much smaller
that's very
percentage
expensive.
of the population.
$1,000.
Yeah.
For the base model, right? And like, who's going to want to buy that phone? Like, they're marketing it horribly to get people. I mean, trust me, not necessarily our government, but definitely governments are actively scanning and acquiring all kinds of massive data on everyone through various attack vectors. Most of them are going to be through an iPhone and an Android phone, and a lot of them are just going to be through regular computers. But your phone is the most highly targeted thing, like because the most people in the world have those phones. Therefore, that's the most targeted thing. It's just like a bank. A bank is highly more targeted as an attack point than a Topgolf. You know what I mean? Like, the world is trying to break into JPMC Chase. No one's trying to break into Topgolf to steal financial records, just because of the nature of who they are. So it's the same type of thing. Yeah, that's really about it. For those of you that are still watching, I really appreciate you guys, all the comments and stuff, because I really like giving the feedback and hearing what you guys are thinking out there, because I live in my own little silo, and it's really kind of cool to hear what other people are thinking, even if they're crazy comments, especially the Taco Bell guy. My wife really loves that one, so shout out to you. So cool. Thanks, everybody.